So Vedvyasji says the mind and Chetan, or consciousness, what's one thing that's very different between the two of them, because there's distinct qualities? Well, the mind is prone to change. It's parinami. Consciousness is not prone to change. It remains the same. It's aparinami. This is the biggest clue that there are two distinct things happening in your being. The mind is prone to change. The mind is also prone to death, meaning it shuts off and then it turns on again. But consciousness never shuts off. It's undying. It's always on. Okay? The mind is like the wind. Consciousness is like the mountain. Okay? The mind can be tainted and colored with things. It can be colored with thoughts. It can be colored with emotions and feelings. But consciousness remains untainted. Make as much effort as you want to taint the witness, it never gets tainted. It's always just purely watching. Untainted, unblemished, colorless. The mind has other activities. For example, it can move, it can be inert, it can have action in it. But consciousness only has consciousness in it. It never does anything. It never stays in one spot or moves into another spot. It is just consciousness. It doesn't change its activity. The mind requires a power source, but consciousness doesn't require a power source. It itself is self-empowering. That's why we call it sapang. The mind is like the clouds and the sky, and consciousness is like space. This is such a good udharan here. See, when you look up at the sky, you can see something blue there. And you can look at the clouds and you can see something white there. But are they essentially there? No. If you go up to the cloud and you look closely, it's just a bunch of water droplets that come together and then they dissipate and it disappears. And if you try to touch the blueness of the sky, it's not actually there. But what is actually there and you can't see it? Space. Between sky and space, the blue dome-shaped sky versus like empty space that's all around you right now, one of these things is visible but not real. And one of these things is not visible but actually real. So the mind is like the clouds in the sky. Consciousness is like space. The mind is like the reflected moon on a placid, cool lake at nighttime. Huge description. The moon is hugely used in Zen philosophy. It's used by Maitreyi and her husband Yagyavalak. Always the condition is that there's a calm pond and the moon's reflecting in it. Well, the reflected moon is the mind, and the actual moon is consciousness. Okay? The mind always shows things. It's an exhibitionist. Right? It exhibits, it shows. But consciousness always watches. It doesn't modify things. It doesn't try to create new things out of something. It always just watches. The mind shows things. It exhibits things. Exhibitionist, that's the word. The mind cannot turn around and know consciousness, because consciousness is without a definition, without a boundary, but the mind has a boundary. So how is it going to turn around and fully know consciousness? It doesn't. It has an inkling that there's someone behind me, but it doesn't turn around to know it fully. But consciousness knows the mind. So there's a directionality. Consciousness sits at the back and knows the mind, but the mind cannot turn around to know consciousness fully. Okay? The mind has boundaries. Just close your eyes and try to think of something. And actually try to think of infinity. Try to think of the edge of the universe, and you're still going to be bound to something. Your mind is incapable of understanding something that doesn't have a boundary. It doesn't understand. It stops working. But consciousness has no boundary. The mind is a doer. It tells you, do things. You're doing things. And therefore, if you're a doer, you're going to have to bear the consequence. But consciousness never does anything. It just watches. And because it never does anything, it never has to bear anything. Just watches. And there was a Sakhi that Swamiji told about doerness and how dangerous it is to identify with things. There was a train, a person sitting on a train in a little cabin, and somebody had left a chest with a lock on it under the seat. The train had reached its last spot, and he was there throughout the journey, seeing nobody claim this chest, and he's thinking, well, if no one's claiming it, why don't I take it with me? So he tells the conductor, it's my chest, I'm going to take it with me. Gets off, and there's a huge police presence in the area. And the officers are asking, they're looking around, and they see the chest. Who does this chest belong to? And the person says, it's my chest. Open the chest. Oh, I don't have the key for it, but it is my chest. And now he's thinking, maybe there's something really valuable in it. I should keep it with me. Right? So he goes all the way to the police station saying, no, it's my chest. You open it however you want to open it. They open the chest. They see a dead man's body in there. And then he goes right away, hold on, that's not actually my chest. Too late. You said it was your chest. The officer now has decided that it's your chest. Therefore also, since you became a doer and you identified, now you're going to have to bear the consequence. You somehow killed someone you never actually killed. Now you're going to have to bear the consequence. The watcher never touches anything. He doesn't care about the chest. The chest is not mine. I never touched the chest. Nothing. So these are the two differences, a few differences between how to know that the mind is actually separate from consciousness. All changes, all definitions, all ups and downs, all problems and solutions, they belong to the mind. To know that I am permanently separate is the solution, is the key to enlightenment. So anything that you go through in life, always, there's this saying that we ourselves are in a prison with the key to the prison. We're sitting in a prison and we're holding the key as well to get out of the prison. That key is witnessing. Anytime you're in a situation, just remember, I am a witness. I am not the doer, nor am I the bearer. The body might have to do and bear. The mind might have to do and bear. Thoughts and emotions might have to do and bear. But I am simply their watcher. I can never be hurt. I can never be in pain. I can never even be killed. Death, if it happens to a body. If it could happen, it happens to a mind. It doesn't happen to me.